2023, and I'm calling the regular Belle Plaine City Council meeting in session. It should be noted those in attendance are Councilperson Peck, Councilperson Schlusselman, Councilperson Morrow, Councilperson Malcolm, Councilperson Landon, City Administrator Steve Beck's here, Assistant City Attorney Kate Kinsler's here, the Mayor's here, City Clerk Sandra Walton. I'd like to remind all in attendance, including the council and staff, to please shut off your cell phones or put them on the mute mode. And with that being said, let's rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, some adjustments to the council agenda tonight. Police report will come at the next meeting. Won't come tonight. We will not be going into closed session, so we can cross out 22, 23, and 24. And under committee of the whole drones, because Bruce provided you with a whole packet of stuff to read now, I'm going to postpone that to the next meeting. There's too much material there from the Federal Aviation Administration to expect you to have time to go through it. That's not fair. So that being said, let's move to agenda item number 4. By the way, if I get up in the middle of this meeting and sprint out of here, Ham's here. Number 4, approval of consent agenda, council minutes of January 16th, 2023, council minutes of January 18th, 2023, receiving and filing of minutes from the January 24th, 2023 Belle Plaine Community Library Board of Trustees meeting, and bills received. Questions or motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda, council minutes of January 16th, council minutes of January 18th, receiving and filing of minutes from the January 24th Belle Plaine Community Library Board of Trustees meeting, and bills received.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion at all? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now it's time for resident comments. Please come to the podium, state your name and your address. Please address all comments to the entire city council, not to individuals on the council. Please address the council with respect and courtesy. To the council, this is a time for us to listen to ideas and information our residents are bringing to our attention. And I also remind the council that it's not a time for debate. Please make all questions to the citizens as informational in nature as possible. And I also remind the council to please address the public with respect and courtesy that all our city residents deserve. With that being said, are there any city residents who want to approach the podium? Oh, so you must all be here for garbage. Okay. Let's go to the auditor's report. Steve, do you want to come up to the podium and
All right.
go through our audit?
Okay. All right. Try to make it somewhat brief because there's really no way to make this exciting, I guess. So this is the fiscal year 22 audit that goes from July 1, 21 to June 30th, 22. Yeah, it looks like everybody has a copy. I'll try to highlight some of the issues here. Starting on page 5 of the audit report is the independent auditor's report. This is the most important part of the audit. This is what especially like the bond people are interested in. We had an unmodified opinion on the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information, which means that the financial statements are materially fairly presented in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles on the cash basis. Okay. So that's the opinion, which is an unmodified opinion, which is the best that can be given. Probably the biggest highlight is then on first page of the financial statements, which is page 10. Okay, these are your major funds. Would be the governmental funds. Couple of highlights here. General fund receipts are down about 900,000, but expenses are up about 300,000. Normally that'd be an area of concern, but the reason the receipts are down so much was because in fiscal year 21, you got so much money from the derecho, which kind of made things look out of whack here for a city this size. But you got a lot of money from derecho, and in 21, that's why 22 receipts are down because of that. Expenses are up about 300,000, and you can also attribute that to the derecho because it took a while for some of those costs to be incurred, to get in contractors and those types of things. And some of those expenses were incurred in 21, and some were incurred in 22. I think there's probably still a little bit of carryover to 23, but not a whole lot. So things should start to normalize. Hopefully, don't get another windstorm again. Bottom line, the general fund lost about 427,000. Again, that would normally be an area of concern, but that's primarily due to the timing of the derecho monies. You still have a fairly good balance in the general fund, so I wouldn't be too concerned unless you lose 400,000 for a couple of years, and then you have problems. Okay. A couple other big funds on here: local option sales tax. You have 273,000 in the fund at the end of the year. It's a good balance to have for various projects that need to be done. And then your economic development fund has 259,000 in the fund at the end of the year. That fund receives money from the local option sales tax. Plus, this past fiscal year, we received a large private donation from an individual, and that's what increased that fund balance. Okay. Capital projects fund, you got 267,000 there. That's to be used for capital projects, which is unfortunately 267,000 doesn't go far these days when you start with construction, but at least you have something there. And then the other big fund on here is the Donovan Trust Fund, and that has like 400,000 in it, but that is somewhat restricted to specific items because that was a donation that the city got years ago.
It's restricted to plants.
So, well, at least you have good plants in town, I guess. So. Page 11 is your enterprise funds. These are the other major funds. These funds aren't looking as well. Your water fund is actually out of the hole at June 30th, 22. It's been a while since the water fund was positive. Unfortunately, only has $213 at the end of the year, but at least you were positive. The sewer fund is also positive at the end of the year. There were issues with that in the past too, and that had 36,000 in the fund. Neither of those funds probably have enough cash realistically, but I know you're working at it, and I know rates have been raised, and hopefully costs are controlled. It's tough to control some of those costs when you have a break. So, and the garbage fund was actually in the hole 24,000. That's just not good. But it's been in the hole a while also. Okay. So those are actually your major funds. Your governmental funds are looking good. You got business type activities fund, which is the water, sewer, garbage, are all running really, really lean. Okay. Being on page 12 are the notes to the financial statements. These are all pretty standard notes for the city as a whole. If you flip to page 15, there's a list of all your debt. You go to page 16, you've got some GO bond issues and notes. You got 3 of them that actually are gonna be paid off in 23 or 24. So that's good that you're getting some of those paid off. So that you can either lower the tax levy or, borrow more money to pay for other projects and won't necessarily increase the taxes. Page 17, you do have some other bond issues there that go a bit longer. There's about a couple of them that go through 2029, which is, 5-6 years away. And then you have a sewer revenue bond for your lagoon, and that one actually goes through 2036. But you have a 1.75% interest rate, so you can't beat that hardly. Okay. The rest of the notes are pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing odd here on notes. These are all required notes for a governmental entity. Go to page 26. This is a comparison of budget to actual for all the funds. And your budgeted receipts were just a little bit more than actual receipts, but only by about 120,000. So budget was pretty close. Your budgeted disbursements were about 500,000 less, or budgeted disbursements were about 500,000 more than actual disbursements, which is good that you did go over your budget on disbursements. The only hiccup there was debt service is over by about $690. And that's just due to, I think, some bond fees that were just missed on budgeting. Not a big deal when you spend 2, 3, 4, 5 million a year. Okay. The rest of the other information has some IFRS charts and tables, all pretty self-explanatory, are pretty self-standard for a city. We go to page 32. Is the rest of your funds. These are the more the minor funds, don't have as much activity going through here. A couple of highlights: your community center has about $79,000 of cash in it, which is good if you need any major repairs or anything at the community center. At least you have some cash to do something with it. And then your equipment fund had about 130-some thousand in it, which is also good, to be used for various pieces of equipment. The equipment fund, I think, primarily gets its money from sales tax, and then your community center gets some money, from the rent, and then there's a small property tax for that too. Okay. Schedule 2 on the next page, 33, is your 2 minor funds on the enterprise funds. And actually, these 2 are doing much better, but there's not much going through here. Stormwater fund actually has 122,000 in it, so that's really good, compared to the water and sewer. And then your yard waste has 34,000 in it, so that's good too. Okay. Page 34 is a 10-year history of receipts and disbursements. In general, receipts and disbursements have gone up primarily due to inflation. Things just cost more than they did 10 years ago. 2021 is kind of an anomaly. Both receipts and disbursements went up. A lot of that has to do with the derecho, the monies you receive from insurance and FEMA, and then the costs that you incurred. But as you can tell, kind of the trend line is going up. But again, that's just all due to inflation. Okay. Beginning on page 35 is what's called the Yellow Book report. This is a required report for government, and it talks about the material weaknesses and significant deficiencies, which we'll get to here in a second. Okay. Page 37, beginning on page 37, schedule of findings. First 3 pages, pretty standard for an entity this size in regards to some of the issues that we've identified. Okay. Beginning on page 40, a couple other findings. Went over budget, again, in the debt service fund. you budget based on the function, not in total. Or the state looks at it, you can't go over budget in every function, okay? But again, that was only like $600 some. A couple other findings would be, again, the garbage fund is negative. That's an issue. And then a couple other comments on the TIF and annual urban renewal report, which we're working on, and hopefully those will go away here soon. And then also on a public hearing on an airport project, some of the procedures weren't quite followed the way that they were supposed to be followed. Okay. So that's it. Try to get the highlights, try to keep it short. So, anyone have any questions or anything?
So what's the health of the city of Belle Plaine financially?
You're probably, when you average in the governmental and the enterprise fund, probably like a B or C, primarily because your water and sewer funds are really running very lean.
Working on it.
And most places are like that. Your rates, unfortunately, that's about the only thing you can do is raise the rates or cut costs. Very difficult to cut costs when you have a break. The alternative is, try to get some grants and loans out there, or especially some grants to maybe fix some of the problem areas so it doesn't go on the taxpayer or the users of the city.
We're also fixing our own breaks now, so we aren't bringing in the contractor to do it. That's going to save us.
That would save you a lot.
They are looking better than this right now.
That's good. I think your utility rates are a little bit on the low side compared to what we see too. I mean, you talk to the residents and it's all way too high, but we've seen a lot higher than here.
No comment tonight.
And unfortunately, if you had a big manufacturing plant that used a lot of water or sewer, that helps out some of these smaller cities if they have that. I don't know if you have a big manufacturing plant that uses a lot of water and sewer in their production or not.
I have a big truck wash that uses a lot of water.
So hopefully that's helping you prop things up a little bit. Because your average household really isn't paying their fair share. It's somewhat the commercial is kind of helping that along. But any other questions? General, your governmental funds are good. It's just the water and sewer. And that's always been an issue here since we've been here. Unfortunately, the DNR keeps making new regulations for everybody.
Don't we know?
And,
Hopefully you'll have something good to say next year
you
about
know,
those two.
I try to say things good, but when the money's not there, it's
We might have some surprises for you next year.
and yeah,
Folks, that doesn't mean we're raising rates to the sky. That's not the surprise we're talking about.
No,
Our biggest surprise is sitting right at that table. What he's doing with our equipment and what we're able to do with our equipment now is going to make a huge difference.
yeah,
I mean, the only time we're probably going to have to bring in a contractor to help with a water main break is on Highway 21. If Jay says he can handle a Highway 21 break, then he'll handle a highway, except we still probably have to bring in the signal guys.
Yes,
So
I
we
know.
signal, we don't own those.
and actually, you've made some improvement on the water and sewer because neither of them are negative. In the past, they were both negative. Um, So that would be my biggest concern there. So, any more questions?
Any questions, council?
Not this time.
Thank you for
Thanks.
coming out.
Thanks a lot.
See you probably in August again.
Yeah, some July, August, whenever books get closed and go from there. And really just want to thank everybody, especially Sandy and her staff for all the help, and, Steve and the mayor, the help too, they're here pretty much full time also. Or it seems like it.
Well, but my clerks tell me you're easy to work with.
So,
That's important.
and hopefully we can install some knowledge with everybody too, because we've got a lot of knowledge here that we audit a lot of cities and we see a lot. So, and, all right, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, for one of those issues in the audit book, Matt Pivot of Republic Garbage.
Hello, everybody. I'm Matt Pivot with Republic Services. It's been a while since I've been here. I was here 5 years ago. We talked about becoming your garbage and recycling company. It's been a challenging 5 years with all the things we kind of ran into right after starting here, from the recycling crisis that we had nationwide to pandemic and the staffing shortages and inflationary things that we've seen in the last year. I'm before you today to ask if you'd like to extend the current agreement that we have. I had provided a new document to Sandy earlier this week. You probably have a copy of it. We got two versions of it. One of them is leaving things exactly how they are. The other one combines the landfill costs that you guys are paying separately right now. At the end of the day, there really isn't a difference from what you pay between the two of them, I don't think, or not much. It's just if you want us to can't handle that landfill fee or not. I guess I'd ask if anybody has any questions of me, or is there anything, or comments, or anything you want to say?
Have we had annual rate increases every year?
So we're at 1404 right now, I believe, correct? 5 year, year 5 of the contract.
Oh, I'm on the wrong page. I'm on the.
And some of the things that had happened, and I know before we started, I talked about it because when you guys became a customer, all this recycling stuff was kind of on the horizon, starting to kind of boil up. I don't know if you remember those discussions. Pretty much right after you became a customer is when you might have heard about China soared and China stopped accepting recyclables from the United States. I never approached you after that happened, because literally it happened right after we signed the contract. But at that time, we went to a lot of cities and asked for rate adjustments on recycling, because it went from us being able to make, $40 a ton on recycling to all of a sudden you're paying $70, $80 a ton just to get it recycled. The swing wasn't just losing the 40, it was actually paying. It was a very big swing. And part of this extension reflects that we're in the same boat that we were in. Over the last 5 years, there's been some fluctuations. It's recovered a little bit, and that right now we're sitting back at the bottom of where it ever was again. We haven't come back to you and asked for anything special over the last few years. This represents a larger increase than your normal year-to-year increases. But we believe that it will be, it accounts for all the inflationary things that we're seeing in capital. The biggest thing that we're seeing is labor. My labor rate when we started this contract was $23 an hour, and right now we're sitting at about 34, and that's a large swing, and it's a big portion of our expenses.
Well, from this side of the table, we appreciate the working relationship we've had with Republic. And I don't think some people in the community realize what your drivers do for some of our elderly people when it comes to taking care of bins in the wintertime. And that means getting out of the truck and either moving them back up to closer to their house or going up to their house and pulling them down for them, that kind of stuff. I think those are things that are on the plus side. I'm not gonna make the council make a decision tonight. We just wanted to give you a chance to present it. And there are, I mean, we can always, and I'm not saying this is a threat, but if the council wants to RFP it and bid it, they can, but I can always warn the council, that doesn't mean that what's on this paper now is the bid you'll come back with. It could be a larger bid than
The council can do as they want as far as that goes. But what I can say is I think over the last 5 years, we haven't been perfect, but we try to be. We do the best we can.
that. Well, and when you guys miss a whole street, you send a truck out and pick it up.
And over the last few years with staffing, I mean, we've had a lot of substitutes here over the years, but I think we're over the hump on as far as that goes. I would say that, this is a service that we provide. You could always find somebody to do it cheaper. I'm positive you can. I think we were in this room 5 years ago, that was an option. But I prefer a company to come in and do the quality work that we do and use the quality equipment that we have, the caliber of employees that we have, is something that you do pay for with us.
One of the things I do worry about is how much commercial you're picking up in our loads.
There is commercial in your loads, and that came up when I met with Sandy about a month ago. There was an apartment building they're picking up. So I am crediting that payback I'm giving you is more than it was before. It's $150 a month right now. We're not picking up 3 tons of material with the commercial every month here in town.
I just worry about that apartment building because I've seen their dumpsters piled so high a mountain goat couldn't climb up
And
sit
they're-
on top.
Could change. I mean, that's not something, anything regarding the disposal, advantage of that. They are looking at it a month ago. The month-end staff are just going to be coming in today and tomorrow. And that 150 may be a little bit higher than that when it's all said and done, but they're looking at it right now. And that's a valid concern. That's why I offer the 2 options with the disposal included and the disposal not. So it is a little bit different here than other communities, with the city paying the disposal costs, paying the landfill fees. But I can't send a totally separate truck out to separate between the city's
Sure you
commercial
can.
cans.
It would just cost you more money.
It would cost a lot more, but if it was all residential, I probably could, but when we have city commercial cans as well, we just can't. We won't do it like that. But we will make everything right with you if some of that disposal is being passed on to you from the county. We do everything we can to make that right, and we have been over the years.
Questions, council?
So do I understand that the base that isn't included here is 1405 and the increase the first year is 1670? Is that how that goes?
1404 will go to 1670.
Yeah.
And so that's about a 19% increase.
So you got
4.5% per year-ish.
Yeah, it's a little under 20 and then 4.5.
So the first one is the big one, and the others
Yeah.
are going to stay. I mean, I understand it with the price of gas, the price of labor, and cost to operate large machines.
I mean, we're all out there. I mean, everybody, you see the price of fuel, all those things factor into it. And unfortunately, we're not exempt from it either. We look at it as well.
The service fees on this proposal, the $15, what's that currently?
The same, that there's been no
There's no
increase.
That's
in
a
those.
county charge.
And I don't know if any of those are being charged. We're not picking up the appliances and bulk items right now, are we? Like, are there ever, you guys are sending them to us?
Appliances?
Appliances, yeah, but the bulk items, are we?
You mean like a sofa?
Yeah, are they doing that now?
Remember when you told us
Well,
everybody got one free
Oh,
one
no.
and we sat here and didn't think
Who was gonna pay
who
for
was
that?
gonna pay for
Yeah,
the
that's
free
why I didn't
one,
know
then
if
we
we
turned
weren't
around
doing
and discovered the city was gonna pay for the free one. That's why we're in the
It's just
hole.
not free anymore.
So
That's
we,
what's a year,
we,
okay. So
we
we're still
start
doing it.
charging for
You're
it.
still doing it, we're charging enough to cover tipping fees.
I know that it was included in there. I didn't know if you were allowing them to do it, but yeah, I remember now. Yep.
Well,
Once word
It's
got
all
out,
Mhm.
it's kind of hard
It's
to.
one way to avoid figuring out how to do a cleanup
Yeah.
day with a more limited staff than we used to have. Because if you can get rid of a couch or a, recliner or whatever, and I don't know, what is that, once a month that we do those, or is that twice?
Appliances are once a month and the other bulk items are every Monday.
Yeah, to be weekly.
So it helps our customers, and what are we charging, $5? Considering if they pull up with a pickup with one recliner in it at Benton County landfill, it's $10. I don't care if it's big recliner, small recliner, it's $10 a pickup.
That brings up one thing that I did forget to mention. I mentioned it to Sandy last week, and it's not 100%, but we are looking at potentially rerouting the city and going to one day instead of coming on 2 days, coming here with more trucks and just getting everything done in one day, which is a potential change in the not too distant future, not the immediate future, but probably by summertime.
Any idea which day?
No, I don't. It would be one of your current 2 days, probably
Just trying
not.
to figure out who's got to learn a new
Yeah,
system.
wait till we identify that for sure, and we'll have conversations and give plenty of notice before that happens. But I don't know. It was something.
But
that
it'll
came
be
up.
at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Put it out the night before. I've never gotten up at 5 o'clock in the morning to put my garbage up. I did get up at 6 o'clock last Monday to put it out. I was too sick to put it out on Sunday. Well, council, if you don't have any more questions, we will bring this topic up for you to discuss probably at the next meeting to decide what you want to do, and then we'll make sure Matt knows our decision, whether you want to re-up for a 5-year contract or whether you want Steve and I to work out the RFP and send it out. And I'm not, I told Sandy quite a while ago, I was not taking a position on this one. This one's all at your court to make the decision on. I very much think, I thought we hit 2 home runs in a row when we went with Johnson County. I thought they were good, and then we switched to Republic. I thought they had been very good to us too. And I know a number of our older residents appreciate it, and I know my clerks appreciate it when somehow they forget 7th Street because it's half of it's one way, and they come back and get it on Wednesday, or they always make right on where we end up with stuff missed. That the pressure on that's not put on Steve or I, it's on the clerks because they're the ones handling the phone calls.
And I'll just add that I've said this in your office before. Belle Plaine has been a great city to work with as well. You know, I'm kind of skimming over a really chaotic 5 years that we've dealt with, and you have been fantastic to work with, so we can get things right and get things serviced.
So will there be a change in recycling? I mean, I keep hearing the cheap, like these water bottles, they're gonna pull out and won't recycle them, and these they will recycle.
No, so one of the big things that we're doing, and it would impact you here, is Republic just invested. We have these new recycling plants that we're building. There's gonna be 5 of them across the United States. The first one was built in the Southwest, and it opened a month or 2 ago. The next one's gonna open in Indianapolis. So the material that comes from Cedar Rapids, we're going to actually ship our plastic to Indianapolis. Currently, what happens is a lot of plastic, when it gets bundled up and baled and sold, it's sold as a mixed plastic. what we're gonna, it's actually pretty cool. You got all those bottles up there. So I'll just hit this real fast. So
I knew you'd need this.
they opened up these polymer centers, and part of the challenge is when China cut off the recycling stream from being shipped over there. The issue that we really had domestically was contamination and bad products. If there's good material, there's always going to be a market for it. So what these polymer centers are going to do, instead of that mixed plastic being sold to a broker as a mixed bale, where it eventually makes its way to like Mohawk, where they make it into carpeting, or get made into black PVC pipe to get buried under city streets, which is really considered downcycling, because eventually that carpet's going to the landfill. Eventually that pipe's going to fail and go to the landfill. What we want to see is circularity. So what you're going to see is bottles like that, those clear PET bottles will be made into new water bottles. That green Mountain Dew bottle, Pepsi can call and say, hey, we need green flake for Mountain Dew bottles, and well, not Pepsi, but their bottler can, and it'll be made into a new Mountain Dew bottle. Green flake for a Pepsi Mountain Dew bottle is going to be worth a heck of a lot more than a mixed bale of plastic that they're going to sell and be made into carpeting or a textile. So it's kind of a win-win. It keeps the recycling stream going. It improves the quality of it, and it keeps things permanently out of the landfill. It's one of our biggest initiatives that we've had, and the Indianapolis plant's supposed to open this year. We'll start utilizing that out of secret efforts.
I've got a question for you. What about when we shred documents? You don't take that.
Not because it's not recyclable. Paper is something that since the China issue happened, paper really has dropped in value. When we have markets for it, which we do, the issue with shredded paper isn't that it's shredded. It's when people put shredded paper into their recycling bins and there's shredded paper blowing around town, we get blamed for it. And people get upset at the garbage company. So we encourage people not to do that. We don't like to see it bagged, because if it's bagged and goes through our sorting center, those bags wrap around all the different conveyors and gears, and it shuts down the whole line and creates a clog in the system. So we don't want, if you could bag it, it wouldn't be an issue, but because we don't want things in bags, we sometimes will say, don't put your shredded paper in the recycling, but you can. I mean, it's totally recyclable. We just don't want it blowing around is the main.
What if you put it in a paper bag?
Well, that wouldn't be a problem, I wouldn't think.
Okay,
That wouldn't be an issue.
you own City Carton, the old City
Yeah.
Carton, right?
Yeah.
That's how they started out, was
Yeah.
taking white paper from businesses and
We
they
still
took
do.
shredded paper.
Yeah.
Well, I drove in there once and it didn't seem like there's the same setup as
Well, we sold the shredding company off a few years ago. There used to be a shredding company in the front with that shredded paper. You would bring it there and they would shred it on site, I think. And we sold that to a company called Shred It, where they used to go to the businesses and shred it. But we still do take bales and gaylords of paper and cardboard and plastic and
because there used to be drive-through, or you could drive out there, and this was for people in apartments in Cedar Rapids that didn't have recycling services.
yeah.
It used to be in the city shed, and you could go down there and there were people that could help you put the recycling in the right places. Then they moved it out to City Carton, where you could go out there and you could put it in different vessels. They were labeled,
We have big containers out
Yeah.
in front. So there's two, I know what you're talking about.
but that isn't there anymore.
It was because of litter over the weekends, and we had to expand our offices, and they actually they put like an office trailer out there where those used to sit. We ran out of space, so
Oh.
they had to put that there. But even before that, they shut it down because of litter. We had a glass drop off there as well. There was
Right.
glass, which isn't taken curbside. So like people who lived close by would take it there. But when you come into work on a Monday and your parking lot has paper and cardboard blowing all over it, and there's broken glass all over the street, it just got to the point where they stopped doing it. But yeah, that's why that's yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Well, when it was at the city shed, you could actually drive in there and it was always manned when you were dropping stuff off.
Yeah, it's
And I think when the flood happened in '08, I think that did away with that.
and I can't speak to that because City Carton became part of our company in like 2015, I think it
Yeah.
was.
I know.
So I can't speak to what Cedar Rapids was doing prior to that, but I know a lot of cities will have a shed. This was before curbside was a big thing too, when they had the drop-off sites. Most cities in the area have curbside recycling now. The rural people, not all the rural residents have recycling available to them. That's who would primarily use like a drop-off site like that now. But since it's curbside now, the need for it kind of diminished a little bit as well.
How many documents are you shredding?
Not a lot.
I don't think I've shredded any in years.
Well, I'm purging a lot of stuff, so.
Put it in a paper bag and
What?
that would be fine.
And I can put it in the
Just
recycling?
throw it in your recycling bin, yeah, it'll go to the
I
line.
put a
and get
big
sorted out
sign
with
on it,
paper.
that says shredded paper, or
No.
don't
just
have
put-
to, it's just
no.
that keeps it from blowing.
Well, because what that'll happen, when that hits the line, it'll eventually be opened up as it goes down the line and people, they'll see it's paper and it'll get sorted off of there. That wouldn't be a problem.
Well, I knew you didn't want it in plastic bags, so I thought, well, paper bags might work.
Yeah, that would work.
That blowing stuff around is why there's a wind resolution on the landfill. When wind's X amount, I don't know what it is, landfill closes, and we've also started the last 5 years putting up fence to keep anything from coming out of the landfill on the neighbor's property.
Wendy, if you want to call me tomorrow, we have a solution for the Rainbow Drive issue that you guys are having.
Give me a call in the morning.
Or do you want
James,
us to just talk to Mendez?
Mendez and I will give you a call in the morning. All right.
any other questions for Matt?
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank
everybody.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Hey, Matt.
Let's go to agenda item number 8, set the public hearing for the franchise fee at,
Number 10.
well, let me look at it differently. Okay. Don't know how I know how I ended up.
That was you.
This is the one I created. And
Silly
then I
boy.
slipped away on Friday and you guys changed it.
Told you I was gonna.
No, I didn't realize which one was which one. Okay, agenda item number 9, discuss the request from Jamie Blasdell, 825 27th Street Northeast, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, concerning the nuisance complaint on her property at 1410 6th Avenue, Belle Plaine. First thing I know you're gonna ask about that is she got back to me. She wants 8-month time frame on that. Steve on the line at 4-month time frame, and then come in and ask for an extension if you need it. But 8 months, if we don't look at it in 8 months, the next thing we know, we're gonna have this one sitting there a year later.
It'll be winter coming on again in 8 months.
So I mean, it's up to you guys on what we tell her. You can give her, it's either give her 8 months tonight, or 6 months, 4 months, 1 month.
What has been the norm? What we typically do?
Yeah, but
I think it's been case by case.
Yeah, it's been case by case.
How long has this been vacant?
it hasn't been vacant as long as you think.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because I read her letter, so I was just curious.
Had people living in it.
it was on our original list, and we moved on and revisited it after the people
So-
left.
She had mentioned in the letter that's in our packet, like that this came out of the blue. I'm paraphrasing a lot. But was this the first notice that she'd seen? Had she been notified previously of a nuisance? I mean, because this letter says we got an administrative warrant and went in and blah, blah, blah. But was there previous notification?
No, because we waited until it was occupied, so we waited until the second we found out it was unoccupied, then we got an administrative search warrant and went in. Especially when we kept getting complaints from neighbors and other assorted people about thinking kids were getting in there and open windows and that kind of stuff.
Well, I think whatever we do, we need to get some kind of instead of just saying you have 4 months to complete this or 8 months to complete it, get some kind of interim progress reports, because just from some of the past ones, it seems like if you don't stay on top of things, then all of a sudden
Well, I
you're
think
kind of surprised.
in her letter, and part of the thing that, is positive in this is that they have tried to clean it up. Is that correct? Cleaning the yard. I mean, some of the things that she says, paid the back tax. And she said that he would provide a letter of intent. If she can provide proof of bids of the roof, I mean, that's at least a positive step. But I mean, have any of the houses that we've given extensions to actually followed through and done this? I mean, it seems like we give people extensions and then now we're sitting with houses that haven't been torn down, haven't been fixed.
And we
I
paid for
think there's-
multiple inspections.
And I think there's one that actually has, as far as had a progress done. Others have had to be sold
Mhm.
and other people have had to step in. So I just think,
I know the city, was saying, my report manager, really relates to your point, Mitch, so I'm saying now is we also have, what I would consider a positive outcome on the Smalley property. The city did acquire that this week,
okay,
so, so that was a resolution.
all right.
One of her options when she called to talk to me was that she wanted to try to sell it to a contractor, kind of like some of the other situations that we had. And then they take on the burdens of making sure that it's fixed up.
I don't want to kick people out of homes and I don't want to tear down homes that can be rehabbed if it's possible. But I think giving anyone 8 months, I think we're leaning toward it. We give her, 3 months or 2 months. I mean, winter time's a crappy time to try to fix things, but I just don't see carrying this out so long is going to get any kind of resolution. It seems like the minute we give someone a resolution, nothing happens.
You could give her 4 months with the requirement she has to come in and give us a report in 4 months on what she's done. And if she's, if it's still the song and dance, well, it's winter and I don't have a contractor hired, and then you can result to the court system. But if she can come in and show she's hired a contractor or a contractor's bought it to fix it and make it into a livable home, or, that she's done all the interior work and now they're going to be working on the roof. And
My question is, that she's owned it for this long, why hasn't she done those repairs since 2017?
you know what she said?
No.
The renter destroyed this.
It's been bad for a long time.
Yeah, I
That-
didn't want to
that
say the
window-
crack in the foundation had nothing to do with the rent.
Most landlords inspect their property at least once a year.
I feel 3 months is max.
I'm in
Yeah,
favor of that, and that's max.
And I think she needs to get this buttoned up, because just like the opening in the basement, that has to be closed up for safety purposes. The entryway to the basement needs to be buttoned up. Because if you look at the pictures, it's wide open,
They've been like that since 2017.
and that should be an immediate thing.
And per her words, I think we should ask for a letter of intent, and if she's getting those 3 bids on the roofs, then we should at least have some proof that she's actually got the bids.
I agree that we
That's
should have
possible.
some stipulations on granting an extension by these things, like you mentioned, and possibly others need to be done by whatever time we pick. And then we expect those to be done, and then we'll see at that time if they have been done, and then we can go from there. Because this, letting it carry on and on and on with extension and extension, and then, and inspection and inspection and inspection that the city is paying for, I'm against that.
Well, I think after the first inspection, we're gonna start charging for the inspection.
I would agree.
That has to fall upon the property.
Yeah,
I agree, definitely. The burden of proof that the work is done.
it's not fair to those that maintain their homes and work hard to have houses like this. It's not fair.
So you want us to contact her and tell her she's got 3 months, but immediately we expect all entryways sealed up. We want to see all possible bids that she's got coming, and she needs to send us either certified letters to that or come in here and present to us in 3 months, but we're not waiting 8 months for a start. That sound what you want?
Yes.
May 3rd.
You're saying May 3rd.
Is that a Wednesday?
Yes.
Do you have all that down?
More or less.
Can I have that in form of resolution?
I'll make a motion that what the mayor said as far as requirements of May 3rd. I went the easy route.
With an immediate button up.
Yeah,
Yes, and let's make sure we
Spell that
emphasize
out.
immediate button up.
And spell it out.
And
what that
then
means.
Steve, I would put this all in a letter and send her a certified letter. So that we don't get this, well, I didn't get it. Shouldn't hear that from her. She works for the post office. All right, I got a motion on the floor. Do I get a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion. Steve, are you clear on your assignment?
I'm gonna need to square up with Sandy on the particulars of the motion and the timeline. I'm trying to keep up with my notes. She writes faster than I do. I think we got it.
Okay, any more comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 10, discuss for possible approval of Class C retail alcohol license with Sunday sales and outdoor service for Belle Plaine Country Club at 1913th Avenue. Any problems, chief? No. Golfers that can't keep it in the fairway. Questions or a motion?
that's not the tone of booze.
I'll make a motion to approve the redoing of Class C alcohol license with Sunday sales and outdoor services.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
First signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Discuss for possible approval, resolution 230201, a resolution approving the transfer of funds for sewer heavy equipment and police equipment funds. I'll let Sandy explain that to you.
This is one of the things we actually talked about during the budget work session that we had. It's just, we're required by law to put it in a resolution and have you guys approve it whenever we're moving money from funds to funds. So this is just formalizing what you guys had said would be okay.
Questions on this one? I need a motion.
I motion for approval of resolution 230201.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. This brings up a good point. Jay, do you want to tell them what you've got done in equipment here recently?
Oh, we got, last Wednesday, we got our mini hoe in, and you knew we had the skid loaders, all the attachments, and, So we're doing pretty good.
You got the welder going again.
Yep, the old 1954.
How about, the street cleaner, how's that?
All done, ready to go.
Fully operable and?
Yes.
So
And you
if
guys
we
did-
have an Easter parade, you can drive it in the Easter parade.
Yep.
Kids will be crying because all the Easter eggs are in the machine.
I just, every day of the week, Jay comes up with new plans and new ideas and new things we can do. It's just fantastic that having him down at the shop, that it's gotta be savings cost to us. I mean, when the airport snowplow broke down, who did they call? Jay. And he got it fixed and running for him. So it's excellent on what he's been doing down there. I applaud him. I really appreciate it.
It's actually really hard to quantify the amount that he's saved us because it's remarkable.
Thanks, Jay.
You betcha.
Anything else you want to tell him?
Nope, that's all I got.
Okay, let's set the public hearing for the franchise fees at 2/15/23. Belle Plaine City Council meeting held in council chambers at 6:30 PM.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
God, how did I do that? Oh,
You're
that's
using your
right.
list again.
No, I'm going in for brain surgery. I have a clog, it's not working. Okay, I need a motion for resolution 230202. Okay, if you don't want a motion, we'll sit here.
For what it's worth, this is the revenue purpose statement. It's the first step that we have to do before we set any ordinances setting franchise fees. So you have to have the revenue purpose statement first. We made it as broad as law allows so that we can use it for a variety of purposes, should we need to, even though we know the vast majority of it is probably public safety. We can use it for some of those other items as well. So
Yeah, that was pretty good.
this is the, and all of those A through I on the revenue purpose statement, that's all right out of state code. Verbatim.
Questions?
I make a motion to approve resolution 230202.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Further conversation. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. By the way, the last time I was a patient at the university, I was having brain surgery. Thought you might want to know that. I know what floor that's on too. Public hearing for franchise fees for February 15th, 2023 at the Belle Plaine City Council meeting held in council chambers at Belle Plaine. Questions on this one?
Alliant has provided 2 official notices. It is part of their procedure that they actually pay to publish the notices of the public hearing, which is great. One less thing that we have to pay for. So they have provided one. They're actually going to post 2 of them, even though they're both going to be held at the same time. So those are ready to go. If anybody wants to read them, they're not too exciting.
We'll trust you.
Kind of like that.
It'll be in the newspaper. You can go and find it.
It just says, here's the day and time, here's what it's for, we're shooting for 3%, it's a 25-year ordinance. Granting it I'm trying to think the word,
Exclusive.
non-exclusive, for Alliant.
How about a motion?
I move to set the public hearing for franchise fees at the 2/15/23 Belle Plaine City Council meeting at 6:30 PM.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Approve the following reappointments. Leah Mass to the Variance Board, term to expire January 2028. Jerry Skeeter-Bloom, most of you didn't know what his first name was, to the Variance Board, term to expire January 2028. Let's do those one at a time. So let's start with a motion on Leah.
I'll make a motion to approve Leah Mass to the variance board.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries 5-0. Need a motion for item B.
I make a motion to approve Jerry Skeeter-Bloom to the variance board.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That one carries 5-0. Discuss for possible approval a reduction in the utility bill at 902 Fifth Avenue, Belle Plaine, Iowa, because of a busted water pipe, which has since been fixed. 331.52 credit. Do we write checks for those? We just credit them, right? Okay, good. Like Menards. 11% off.
Nope.
Yeah, sure. You'll get the coupon, come and spend it again.
In-store credit.
Discussion on that one. Motion.
I move to approve a reduction in the utility bill at 902 Fifth Avenue, Belle Plaine, because of a broken water pipe which has been fixed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Move to committee of the whole, and your first item should be update on nuisance complaints, which I think there is a list in there. I will tell you, I got a report from Al today. Both his houses are down. The one on 6th Street and the one on 7th Avenue.
That must have happened.
Sixth Street's cleaned up.
Is it?
Cleaned up and gone. Yeah, there's just very, very little bit left.
Says
That must have
And I
happened in
saw the
last couple
pile
days.
by Zip Mart's gone too, right?
Yeah, that's been gone.
they're running into a frost problem to get
Right.
rid of that
Foundation.
foundation. I don't know whether that got in there. There was a email from Maury to Steve. You want to summarize that? Read it to you. Response to progress at 408 13th Street. I'm waiting for better weather. Left off installing front security doors, front porch floor, and roof are being replaced along with doors. Still have work on the north basement wall, 4 rows of block before I can mount electrical panel. Also, I'm rebuilding the back porch. Let's go through and you handled. So what's the update on Smalley property?
On the Smalley property, I think last time I talked to the council, we had a judgment. She had 90 days, I believe, to clean it up. Instead, she decided to deed it to the city. And so now the city is the owner of that property. And in talks with, I don't know if it was Steve or who I spoke with, but essentially the policy that I've had going forward is, you know, if the property owner wants to deed it to the city, since we have the ability to tear down the houses now, if it's a complete loss, we can do that, and then, like we did with the Seventh Avenue property and the church property, end up selling it to recoup our costs or demolition. So as of today, I believe the deed was recorded today. If not, it'll be recorded in the morning, and approved in the morning. The city is the owner of that property. And so, we'll be looking at potentially, I believe, tearing that down and doing what we did on the Seventh Avenue and the church property.
How long do they have to get their,
They have everything out.
okay,
I've confirmed with her attorney that they have all the material she wanted out.
okay,
So,
thank you.
There's your first practice house.
Yep.
Before you go after.
Tear mine down too, Jay.
Because it's the house and
So tear mine
garage.
down too.
We're pretty accurate when we
Oh, yeah,
tear
I
this
trust
stuff.
You want the garage, don't you?
I'd be happy, that'd be the first thing to win.
so that's where that property is.
So I'm gonna we'll leave that to Steve and Jay, and when it's time to get that out of there using our equipment.
I see a raccoon going into the ceiling 3 nights ago, going in the roof and a hole in the roof.
Well, it's cold.
Yeah, you had the hyperdines in there.
So, and I think last time I spoke to council regarding nuisance properties, the policy that I've always offered these individuals is if they don't want to deal with the property, they've always had the ability to deed it over to the city. And then the city, now that we have the ability to tear it down or do our self demolition, that's an option that I give them instead of going through the court process or rehabbing it. So.
Okay.
Could you add that to the snow list,
What's that?
the sidewalk?
No. I will,
Thank you.
We better do it. It's ours. We already settled Blasdale. Let's go to the Burns property. What do you got for me there?
Burns, I received an email from Steve earlier in the week with the contact information for the family. I guess I was waiting for this meeting or until I could touch base with Steve, but I suppose one of us will have to reach out to the family and see if an estate's gonna be opened, and if not, how the council wants us to proceed. That particular property, we may be able to do 657A on, just because it is actually abandoned. It may fall under some of the qualifications of that code section. That would ultimately also, I guess, have the city be the owner of that property if the 657A was successful. Because there's nobody that we can really get a judgment against since the owner
That's the
is.
Burns, you're talking about the Gregory.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm talking about the Gregory.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, sorry. So that's the Gregory Oak property, is the owner's deceased on that. The Burns property, now that we know where she is, we've sent her paperwork so that she's been personally served instead of just serviced by publication. So the Burns property and the Carlson property are the only two that are still currently in court. So any questions on the Burns or the Carlson property?
No, I'd like to go back to 503 6th Street.
Yeah.
Third one down. On August 3rd, he sent us a letter stating he was going to remove the old shed. Is he still planning on doing that while his contractor is there?
I believe he indicated to us both garages were coming down. I haven't gone down there to see if, because I don't think we filed on the garage, which is a flaw in our system. We have to do administrative search warrants for all buildings on the property. I haven't, his indication to me today was that the garage was coming down. I have not been down there.
The garage is not down currently.
The one that's right next to the.
Nor is it at 1337th
Correct.
Avenue.
Incorrect.
Right.
Well, he said that one's coming down. The one on 7th Avenue is being taken
Did he
down
say that just recently?
this afternoon.
Okay.
That's the one up here, correct?
Yeah.
That was my indicator, my understanding as well as the 7th Avenue garage is coming down. I don't know about the 6th
I asked, a couple days ago on the 6th if it was coming down, and I was told it was, so.
Okay.
Check on that, Steve. But we have to make sure when we bring in our inspector, when Mike comes in, that we get an administrative search warrant to do garages and the buildings. So that we don't forget, because some of these come, otherwise we're gonna have people with old garages sitting on property just filled with stuff.
Mhm.
Okay, we've already done Gregory. Is there any more questions on him? With the
I'm
Greg,
sorry, explain that Gregory again. He's passed and you thought that there's a procedure we can do to get
657A.
gain access.
That's what we did to the
That's what we
hearing.
did to the hearing.
Got it.
Because there's no use in getting a judgment against him personally, since he's passed, he's not gonna abate the nuisance. It'd be no good getting a money judgment against him.
Right.
There's nothing there. So really, I think the only route we can go would be a 657A.
we've never done anything with Cabinet, have we?
No, this would be a good time to do that.
Probably need to file an administrative search warrant in it's a little Quonset on Main Street.
That
Oh.
one's pretty, there's a lot of big trees starting to grow up in between the buildings now, so. it'd be a Good idea to get something done with that, I think.
Yeah.
Can you
My
get the wheels in
previous
motion on that,
administrator
chief?
And I had a long discussion. He said, you can't get there from here. And I said, you can too, get in there and cut the top off of it and put Toradon on it and kill the roots out. And that, of course, went in one ear and out the other. So
Yeah, that ain't very fair to the owners beside it.
let's look to an administrative search warrant on that.
Chief said he's on it.
Okay. We should open back up. That was a great place to eat when the bars closed. Not that I do that anymore. 1411 10th Avenue. I know that's improved. I see there, got siding on it. Do we have any other update on that one?
The last time I talked with Mr. Wright, he was going to be rebuilding the back entry on that had been completely disintegrated, and had the walls scheduled. He has electricians and plumbers getting in there. I can't remember what he says timeline was on that, but they're going to continue working on it over the winter.
Why don't you see if you can get him pinned down for a timeline? And we did approve his 6th Avenue property after the latest photos came.
Yeah, you got the beams put up and the,
Okay, good.
And that's going on the market.
I can't recall if he was selling that or renting it.
He's probably renting
Is he?
it. 1111 15th Street, Derby property.
I drove up by there earlier in the week. There has been some progress, but there's still just kind of piles around. I think the majority of what I would consider building materials like this wood is gone. I think there's just foundation pieces mostly left.
Did she not have, she had a contractor come and remove them, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the most recent. Somebody came in
Removed.
and was removing it.
We probably should check and see what her timeline is on finishing that. You get that back to the council.
So just to be clear, I guess, the council would like me to proceed with the Gregory OP 657A, is what I understand,
Yes, yes,
for both properties.
yes.
All right, this was put on committee of the whole. Do you have other property you wish us to start adding to the list? Now, my thoughts are clear a little bit more of this up and go after it with big administrative search warrants in the spring. But there are some properties we do have to do something with. That was the purpose here.
I think come spring, we should definitely look at some more houses and move forward with other ones falling off.
I think what we need is for you guys to bring in individual houses that you have found that you think fit the list.
Mhm.
Bring them in, Steve will compile the list, and then it'll go to the chief, and he can look, and then it'll come back to you guys and with a report, how many do we want to inspect? The more we inspect in one day, the cheaper the cost. Mike gives us a better deal. But there are some in town that,
Going to want them to be vacant.
well, that's a question for the council. What if they aren't vacant? We have never attacked a piece of property that had occupants in it.
Well, I think they need to be safe.
Yeah, or if there's broken windows and.
But you don't have that in your city code. We don't have an inspection. And I'm told the last time an inspection ordinance was passed, it made 2 readings and got voted down on the 3rd reading.
I can get
We
with
had-
Steve when the list.
We had Carlson, he was rehomed kind of before. That would be the only example I could think of.
Yeah, but he was rehomed a year before we ever did anything with the nuisance property. We were just trying to help get him out of it.
That was,
And we got him moved before winter time. And
No, I think that was also a pretty extreme situation with the condition of the property and the lack of utilities and things like that too.
we kept,
Where some of these properties may not be that extreme, but still suffer for some of the issues.
If you get the list, we can help let you know if there's utilities to it.
Yeah,
So at least you guys know.
Mhm.
well, we'll let you guys start collecting the list. I know Steve and I talked about a couple of properties we definitely have to look at. And I guess I'm not a big fan of going after ones that have residents in them, but I do worry about some of them that possibly have people in them that, my God, I don't know how you're living. And you can always explore if you want to. You can explore a rental inspection. That may be a road you don't want to go down. Remember my
don't,
landlord.
a lot
after-
of, some municipalities actually have that where rental homes have to be inspected. You're
Oh,
right.
yeah,
They
Yeah.
tried to do
Right.
that here at one
they
time.
did. It made 2 readings. It failed on the 3rd. When my landlord came in Kyoto after they passed it and threw a safety ladder in my bedroom and put a lock on the bathroom that you could open from the outside. And when I checked out of the place, he goes, "Where's the key for the bathroom?" And I said, "Wherever you stuck it the day you brought this thing in here and installed it." I forget what else he had to bring up there. They put it in because they had about 45 or 50 properties that were all being rented that were not exceptionally good. But that can be, we can talk about that at a committee of whole and sometime in the future.
Yeah, I think the houses have to be safe. I mean, whether there's somebody in there or not.
I'll put,
Like you said, like broken windows, perfect example right here with a basement, having an opening into it. And somebody living there, that's unsafe.
Mhm.
I mean, if nothing else, landlord, owner, whoever would have to get that fixed. So,
Mhm.
just safety, especially if somebody's living in it.
Anything else on nuisance property you wish to discuss?
Yeah, I will say that I also need to set an example, being a property owner and things like that. And I've been in contact with the chief, and I've got a property that will be getting demolished this summer.
Is that down
Burn
down by Jody?
Yeah, nobody lives in it. It's just storage. So it's all in process.
I'm trying to do something with my house too.
Yours is an exceptional problem.
I think I'm getting closer on something.
Part of that, if I remind the council, is this man spent 3 solid weeks working for the city, dealing with the derecho and trying to find places for his kids to live, and did little or nothing to take care of his own property, and as a result ended up with a mess, and then ended up with a mess with a whole bunch of legal things is all I can tell you. So I know you will get to it. I haven't had any of your neighbors call me and complain yet. Foley keeps calling and saying, tell him I'll fix it up for a mere X amount of dollars.
Is this our original list we started with?
No, we had like, say, 16, 18. There's a lot.
Okay. That's what I
There,
thought.
there always is an option too. We've only utilized it once because it was the only one that really applied. But if anybody has a home that they own that is a derelict building and they deed it to the city, we can give them a state income tax credit for the valuation of the property. So the one on 16th Street, they just kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I called them and I was just like, what's going on with this place? And they're like, well,
I think it was owned by the parents.
yeah,
They just inherited it.
right. And they lived in Jefferson or something like that. And then we just had it appraised, and appraisal is what we passed along to them as a tax credit. Correct?
Correct. That was also.
Yeah, different family.
Yeah.
Along that same line, I sent an email to Chad Strait, the superintendent, and told him to pick out 2 dates, get them back to me that I can talk with my council people that are going to attend this discussion over the junior high property. And I said, we'll work out time. And then I said, now here is the tough part. If I'm sick and can't attend, Steve's going to attend as the city administrator of Belle Plaine. That ball's in your court. You figure out what to do with it, Chad, because I know he's also a board member, but I don't think you're going to call for a board meeting. And Steve and I had talked about that. We talked about a joint meeting, but if we put 10 people in all discussing this issue, I think we're going to end up with a giant headache. So I would prefer having 2 councilmen and either my administrator or the mayor. And if everything goes as it's supposed to go, I'm supposed to be back at work on Friday. I don't know whether I'll make it if they don't let me on Friday. I just wander aimlessly around town.
We'll throw you a bone.
You can't eat those.
That's right.
Can't digest it. So I did make contact, but I was out of the office too many times last week. I was supposed to be in here. I was in all day Friday, got everything prepared for the clerks, handed it off to them, and then I was supposed to have a Friday morning doctor's appointment and then come in and work all afternoon here. I couldn't get out of bed Friday morning. I was so sick. I had to cancel the doctor's appointment. So to cancel a doctor's appointment because you're too sick to go to it. So days like that are, I'm looking forward to some relief from the university. But he has been contacted. I have not had an email back from, so I just wanted you to know, I did get that done. I did not, and I guess I'm running into my own report here. Early, I did not go to the emergency management meeting on Monday. I contacted them early enough and said, I hope you have a quorum of eligible voters, please take care of it. And I haven't heard anything back from me, and part of that had to be doing something with budgets. So with that being said, if you guys don't have anything more to do with nuisance property, I'm gonna move to Steve's report.
All right. The well field is holding steady. I wanted to start with that. I have completed all but one of the employee reviews, and that will happen most likely next week when I can coordinate. I've spent a lot of time trying to wrap up FEMA projects as much as I can. We have our roads project, which is 21st Street, 19th Street, and 15th Street rebuilds. And then the 10th Avenue culvert project. I'll try not to get too long-winded with this. It's been something I've worked on a lot. So I've submitted one 55-page report and one 38 or 40-page report to FEMA regarding these two, and also to the Civilian Board of Contract Appeals in Washington, D.C. And I talked to a FEMA attorney today in D.C., and we're working on coordinating a time when we can set up our initial conference to go through the arbitration process, because we were denied these projects after their site inspector, Patrick Romeo, came and said that these looked like viable projects, and then were systematically turned down because we had so many PDMGs, the people that were in, I don't remember what that acronym stands for, but we had 7, I think. So I'm looking for that initial conference to take place the week after next, week of the 13th. Leon can make it to that. He's going to help. And then after that, we're going to set the hearing, and then we're hoping to have this buttoned up by the end of March. So we'll know something, either it's going to be a go or a no. But when I talked to the FEMA attorney today, we talked for about a half an hour about everything, and it was a good conversation. And I asked her how many arbitrations have come through her desk from Iowa, and she said maybe 1. So I know we've spent a lot of time on this. I hope something good comes out of it. If it does, we'll get some roads fixed and hopefully that culvert fixed up. If we don't, then we'll figure out something else. But that 21st Street, the reason I keep fighting for that one is because it was damaged so badly, because it didn't have any trees along it. And that was a main road that people were taking from 8th Avenue, 7th Avenue. It just beat to pieces. And if we tried to fix it with our budget, it'd probably take us about 5 years of all of our roads budget just to fix that one road back to where it needs to be. So that's why I'm fighting hard for it.
One of the residents wants it.
Yeah.
Wants it asphalt. Said, when are you gonna asphalt? It's probably not my lifetime.
Well, if Benton County wants to get involved in that, then.
They won't spend money on asphalt, I guarantee that. We barely get them to do anything with old 131.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Is that the end of the FEMA project, son?
No, we still have our welcome sign project. There are other ones at different stages. This one's the farthest along. So we have the welcome sign We have a live generator project for the well fields. And these two, so we're winding them down. We started out with 50. But as insurance paid for them, those were eliminated from the pool. And then some of them, we just weren't, they weren't going to go for it. We do have the Minnow Creek, that's a live project that we have extension until March 22nd to complete that. So that's a good project. So it's worth the effort, I think. I mean, even if just getting the Minnow Creek thing figured out is worth the trouble.
But what
So-
we really need is the federal government to revamp that program so it's usable for both city, county governments and residents.
Yeah.
Right now, it's deplorable.
Leon and I met with Senator Grassley's director and just went over a lot of the issues again. And she's going to pass them or send them up the flagpole. But Mayor Fish and I both talked to Senator Grassley numerous times. And
Just about the FEMA process in general, or?
yeah, you know, what we've went through.
Well, and that's the first thing you hear when one of those big cities in the South's hit with a hurricane. Well, FEMA's on the way. Well, big whoop, you don't do anything when you get there. I mean, I know everybody that applies for something gets rejected on the first application. What kind of system is that? They're lucky anything got fixed in New Orleans.
And with my own, yeah, they said Katrina will never be closed. Hurricane Katrina. With my own
And they'll
personal
never
house.
agree to a hearing to do anything about
And I'm not trying to run them down or anything, but when I had my house troubles, I went to FEMA individual assistance because I really wanted to learn the process so I could help citizens get through it. And I spent 2 whole days trying to do it. And I'm just like, I'm getting nowhere. If you know, the barriers and the gatekeeping are really hard to get through. But I didn't know, since this is I don't know if it's a legal thing or not, but we're going to be meeting with federal judges to go through this arbitration process. I didn't know if you all wanted me to brief Jennifer and Gage and get them involved in the conversation, or just, I mean, basically all I have is a bundle of facts about what happened and what everything transpired. And I sent these off and they were accepted into arbitration. So I guess we've got that much right.
What does our attorney think?
I mean, you certainly can. When is it going to be, you know, what arbitration is?
They had initially set it for the 7th at 9 a.m., but Leon couldn't make it. He's in training. So right now, that's why I was talking with the FEMA attorney, trying to coordinate that time. So it's going to be, the judge said he couldn't be on the 14th, so it's going to be the 13th, 15th, or 16th. As of right now, probably mid-morning.
Okay. Yeah, just let us know. I'm sure one of us can make it.
Okay. And the rest of my report was going to be to tell them about what Jay got done, the mini coming in. So that was all good news.
Sorry, I had to get-
That's all right. It's just fine. The mini looks great. We looked it over and, you know, we went down, we talked the other day, and we're making more plans. So does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for your city administrator?
I'm excited to get done with FEMA stuff.
I applaud your dedication to working through that. And that's one of the things I told Grassley back shortly after the derecho. I said, you guys have a system set up that just grinds people down. He said, just makes it so hard for them to get anything that they give up. He said, if you're almost insulted him when I said, if you're 85 years old, you don't even understand this stuff. That was
Oh, careful.
But I can't imagine a 75-year-old applying, getting rejected, and then appealing. Even though we now know that's how you get accepted, is you gotta go through the appeal, because that's how they thin the herd.
So I'm just gonna take them all the way unless the council advises me not to.
Well, I
So
think.
what's our next process on with the water system? Because we've done the filter, we've kind of got that idea, but what's next?
So I got a quote from Northway for a new well. It's just kind of a ballpark. It's gonna be just under 500,000 with all the piping and the building and the, we would have to do some test wells. This isn't a very good time of year to do that. So Sandy and I kind of talked about this earlier. We have Public Works. We have a project out there to, I had mentioned it before, to correct the waterway system out there that had been kind of draining or not letting the well field recharge. We're going to fix that as soon as we can and try to turn that around and create a nice recharge zone for the well field. We have land out there that I think is suitable for putting a shallow well in. If we can increase production from the existing well field and improve the recharge area, I think that's going to be the smartest next step, because with what we found out with the filter is we were able to remove iron and manganese, which is what the filter was designed for, but the water hardness, the calcium content, is still just the same as it was. So that would require an additional filter step, like a gigantic water softener, or our consulting engineers had recommended in a reverse osmosis system, which would take everything out of the water. And then we would have to put blend other well water back into it so that it had minerals and stuff, because pure water isn't, the human body can't really utilize it. It has to have minerals and things like that in it.
So do we need to sit down with Veenstra and Kim and hear their recommendations on what they think we should do, and then make a decision here? I mean, first thing, because of the size of these, you're gonna have to hire an engineer.
Sure. Yeah.
But make our own plan on what we think is best for us to do, because I know you don't like that reverse osmosis.
I'm not.
They make a giant water softener.
They do. I'm not totally against it. They're just so expensive, and they're very expensive to operate and maintain.
The
reverse osmosis, because they remove everything from the water. All you have left is H2O. That's it. There's nothing else in there.
Can't we get Culligan's big water softener out there?
So I'm not exactly against it. I just don't. It's a really big price tag item.
I'm just concerned that we dig a new well in the same well field, and the next drought situation, and now we're using well number 6 again.
I think
so. That doesn't, I mean, that buys us some time, but it doesn't resolve the.
Oh, I get that. Yeah,
issue.
That's what I think we need to focus on, is the long term. But to make it to the long term, I think we have to think about the short term as well.
Water.
Yeah,
I think you have to make well 6 with a filter and a softener on it to make it usable.
Right.
What Veenstra and Kim had recommended previously was, they gave options like drilling a Jordan aquifer well and drilling a cerulean well. And those are all
those
geological
are
formations.
we got right now, so all you're going to get is
that would
more
be
minerals and harder water
and other issues. You could get into radioactive
There's what we need to give them.
So-
Radioactive.
You know, we use what we've got, we do the best we better and then build it. And if we phase it out, we won't have to get these gigantic revenue bonds like a lot of cities have to do. And then they're paying, you know, $15, $30 for the first 1,000 gallons. So if we can grow it and build it up, we have ARPA funds, we have options with the TIF district. We can redistrict that, get that going. I would like to annex in the well field and the sewer plant. Then that would allow us to spend TIF dollars in those facilities.
I thought we were supposed to be exploring that exact possibility.
Yeah. I want to circle back with Gage on that. And,
Annexation.
yeah, because that land is in a different county. The well field.
You can annex all the way to Irving. You want to see some people stirred up.
Did that answer your question, Mitch? Is there more?
Yeah, for now.
Is there more you'd like to know, or?
I'm just getting a feeling like this issue's not gonna go away ever. I mean, there's no, you know, we're looking at $5 million to fix this thing one way or the other. Any way around it, because digging a well in the same well field buys you some time. But the problem is that any well that we know has water and always will have water as well, because blending it gets you by, but no one's happy about it.
Correct.
So doing something with well 6 is really what you're going to have to do, but there's no cheap resolution to it. But I think
No.
we've got to.
I did talk to Dennis
We gotta do something.
and he about getting because we don't have a big enough footprint to do anything. So we need to buy some more land in that neighborhood. And we do have I can't remember exactly the terminology, but there's I think it's a wellhead protection policy. So since it's in a residential neighborhood, that causes some issues because it really limits the activities that people can do, or we have to keep a better eye on it. Like you can't.
So let's go back to the first question.
Yeah.
We need to bring Veenstra and Kim in here and have a serious discussion with them.
I'm not opposed to that.
And at that point, then pull ourselves back and say, okay, here are the things we want to look at. And then we'll have to, once we make that decision, it's going to be put an RFP out, because Veenstra and Kim doesn't get this because they did this water study. Especially when it took them 5 years to do it. You and I can talk next week on what we think is.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate
Yeah, you bet.
that.
Anything else? Mayor's report, landfill. Finished the budget, and we are now preparing an RFP for digging a new cell, which will be a $5 million project. And we're buying 7 acres of land. It first started out, we were gonna buy 165 acres, and there was no rebite on that. But we need 6 acres of land, and I forget what it's for, something. We got to have another spot where we can pile something. But there's a 6 acre corner right on the edge of the landfill.
For sure.
There, Mary, you'll be satisfied. You can throw it over the fence. I just was a little shocked when we talked. I just remember this whole doing a new cell, because at that time there was one company in the United States that put the liner in. You gotta have a rainy summer. God, those ever, charged with another mobilization fee, which I think was $5,000 per. And you're just locked in with that when there's only one company in the US that does that kind of stuff. So that and I mean, the money's there. There's $7 million, but you have to remember, you have to keep $2.5 million has to be kept in your budget to take care of cells when you close them, because there are wells they put in, test wells, and then sometimes you have a methane thing that you gotta burn off, and so it's a process. It may look like the landfill's rich, but you have the DNR says you will have this much and this much, and then if all of a sudden in the middle they go, well, yeah, we told you 10 years ago, $2.5 million, but now you gotta have $4 million. So we have to figure out how to do that. So that is something that will be coming up with the landfill. And that's why it was at EasyCog, but that was a Zoom meeting. I didn't get a lot out of that if you really want to know, not being in the room. Kate Robertson's a new member of the EasyCog board, appointed by the county board of supervisors. In your packet here, unless you got questions for me, because I gotta assume you're getting tired of listening. There's a news release from the auditor that has to go. I have no regular old business. Resident comments. Any residents who want to come to the podium and make comment? Any residents who want to just sit at their seat and yell at us?
I just got a question. Would you have any timeline this summer when they tear that house down?
It won't take long.
Keep talking to those two. That's now in their
I
hands.
just curious. I mean, I dealt with it years. I lasted out a couple months of prep.
Because
Are you gonna serve beer and hot dogs when they do it? I will stop by.
Give me 24 hours notice.
because the next big
I
project,
get the grill out.
the next big project is we want to tear this monstrosity down across the street, and I'm not talking about the bank. So as soon as Jay and Steve think we're ready to roll, we'll start tearing it down. Then we're gonna put in a skateboard park for the kids.
I don't give a shit. That can be better when it is.
Never figured out how you insure that. I know you have an umbrella policy. My God, you're creating a park that the kids can kill themselves. Anything else? Anything from anyone? We have no closed session, which is fine. I didn't want to go through that tonight. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion for adjournment.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. This is a non-discussable item. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your patience.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yep. Good luck.